News, views, voices of the global Indian community. India abroad.
Do you have 6 or 7 hours? It's been an incredible, just an incredible journey, an incredible experience. I started off as a senior advisor to the president, then I was senior advisor and staff secretary, and then I became domestic policy advisor to the president. So I've had a wide variety of experiences. I managed all the decisions for the president as staff secretary. I was engaged in a lot of the strategy questions as senior advisor, and now as domestic policy council advisor or domestic policy advisor to the president and chair of the domestic policy council. I've really had the great privilege to work on so many issues: education, healthcare, domestic immigration, crime, public safety, criminal justice, civil rights. I'd say first and foremost, I feel incredibly privileged to have the experiences I've had. The daughter of immigrants, of Indian immigrants. I'm had some challenges. Our family had some challenges, so I used the social safety net as a child, and so I consider it just a profound opportunity to have been able to work on some of these issues and fundamentally work on expanding opportunity for Americans, addressing costs that people have in healthcare, and ensuring that we're protecting our freedoms and rights. There's just a whole gamut of issues here, and being able to work on them, advocate, and just serve the president and the vice president has been really a profound experience. Well, one of the challenges of the White House is that you never really stop working. So I get in, in the morning pretty early, and then I'm usually here. Like, I really have a, 11 or 12-hour day most days, and still work at night. And then, the other challenge is I work, every weekend, and I'm either here on Saturdays, but I'm definitely doing work on Saturdays and Sundays. So, but I would say that the way I think about the experience is, you really only have a time limited amount here in any service to the president and the White House. All of us serve at the pleasure of the president. We all have limited time. And so I think the right way to think about it is how much can you accomplish in the time that you have. And I've always thought that I wanted to do as much as possible for as many people as possible in the time that I served. So I worked on a whole range of issues. So healthcare, lowering healthcare costs, access to insurance, increasing support for the Affordable Care Act, Medicare drug negotiation, which is first ever. The president has a first ever tool to negotiate drug prices, education policy, from improving school performance, addressing absenteeism, crime and criminal justice. The president has a robust criminal justice agenda, but he also believes strongly in public safety. All the work we did in that space, working very closely with the Department of Justice. Veterans, there are a lot of ways in which the president has focused on veterans. PACT Act implementation, immigration issues. Now, we work on immigration issues for people, who are in the country. We work less on the border. So, I was really proud of our work on keeping families together, really addressing spouses who are undocumented. That has been held up by the courts, but I think even in the raging immigration debate, it's really important for all of us to remember that we are a nation of immigrants, and there's broad support for expanding legal immigration in the country. We'll see how that goes in the future, but that's been the case. So I feel really proud of the work on a whole range of issues. I love our work on healthcare areas we innovated, like dramatically expanding non-college pathways, people who don't want to go to college. How are we creating opportunities for them? What kind of skills and training do they get? There's just a myriad number of issues that we deal with, really, even until the last moments. And I'm proud of the work. And really, the most important thing is that the president, he has always fundamentally believed that a critical role for government is expanding opportunity. And that's a lot of the work we do in the Domestic Policy Council. Really, how do we lower costs for people, whether it's healthcare or education? How do we ensure that, we're ensuring that kids, like when I was a kid and I've struggled, how do we ensure opportunity for kids today who had the kind of experiences I did, whether it's in protecting, expanding access to the social safety net. So I'm proud of all of that work. So the president has always been focused on really fundamentally, making progress where we can. And, healthcare is an issue that he thinks is really central, but he also believes in, and it's been his kind of a through line of his life, his work on civil rights. So he thought, we talked a lot about my experiences. I've worked on a broad variety of issues. I used to run a think tank, the Center for American Progress, where we worked on every issue. And so I think he was, he wants people around him who have the skill set to, really get stuff done. And he knows that the issues that the Domestic Policy Council handles are amongst the thorniest, most challenging issues we face as a country. And so I think, I'm proud of the fact that he, relies on my judgment and my advice to move his agenda and, make sure we've made progress. And, there are issues I worked on here that I worked on for 20 years, and no president has ever, really accomplished what the president has. I worked on healthcare for decades, and for decades we advocated for giving Medicare the power to negotiate drug prices, something people worked on at the end of the Clinton administration and throughout the Bush administration and into the Obama administration. And that was just a point of advocacy. And it really took Joe Biden and, the Congress we had with Democratic control of the House and Senate to finally get that done. And I'm really proud to work on the fact that, we've already negotiated drug prices down in the first round, and we'll soon announce the next round of 15 drugs. I think it's really tragic, honestly. And I think that debate underscores actually that there's broad support in the country for legal immigration done well and done right, but legal immigration. But I do think what I really reacted to in that debate was just the vitriolic hatred unleashed against Indian Americans. People were posting a picture of the person, the Indian American who Trump was appointing, and just said, why would we pick this person? Or is this what you think of as an American? And I really, the reason why I reacted was that, I think President Biden has talked about whether, one of the fundamental fights in this country is whether the country is for all of us or for some of us. And even before the next term begins, we saw this raging debate on social media that was fundamentally saying that Indian Americans aren't American. It was really vilifying Indians as some kind of group. When I tweeted that, I got so many tweets, hate tweets from people saying, go back to India, go back to your, they were swearing about India. They were calling Indians names, that were backward. And it was really a wake-up call and a reminder that presidents can unleash forces, they can build up forces in the country. And I just remember talking to an Indian American during the campaign who told me that nothing would ever happen to Indian Americans, no one would ever attack us because, we've come legally. And I just really react negatively to anyone attacking Indian Americans as not really American. But also, I think that's important for Indian Americans to recognize that we have a stake in these debates, and we have to fight back against those who see us not as full Americans, just like everybody else. Well, I can say that Joe Biden believes that the country is stronger, our people are stronger when you have a government that looks like America. And I think my experience in the Domestic Policy Council really shapes my views of this, because it really does matter who's at the table. As I like to say, if you're not at the table, you're on the menu, which is just another way of saying, if you're not sitting at the table, people will create policies that affect your lives without your lived experience. So whether it's higher education policy, healthcare policy, immigration policy, having the experience of being an immigrant who went through public schools and was able to get a great education and then was able to contribute to public policy, that really shaped me. And the fact that I work at the White House within one generation of my parents coming from India is what makes this country great. And I believe that in my bones. That the fact that this happens here and really almost nowhere else is what is the key factor to making America a great country. And I think it is a tragedy that we will have an administration that looks really like part of America and not all of America. Well, I'm really proud of the strength of the relationship between the government of India and the United States. As you know, it's been it's been an uneven history the last couple of decades. There's often been a lot of lack of trust, and really at different times and different administrations. So I do think the way the world is moving, the U.S.-India relationship will be really important. But I also really want to underscore that it's the people-to-people relationships. The diaspora has been crucial, and also just the sort of intangible dynamism in India. There is a very deep connection between the kind of values of our country, where you can, you have an entrepreneurial class in India who is innovating across multiple dimensions. In my work, I've seen how in biotech and the biopharma areas, but across multiple dimensions, there's a kind of deep innovation happening in India, which I think really does speak to the shared values. And the fact there's so many Indian American CEOs and leaders who come from the IIT system in India, I just think that that's, again, a fascinating and deep kind of connection that goes beyond government. The one thing I guess I would end with is I've worked in a lot of different administrations, and I'm really proud of the work we've done here to advance civil rights and protections for people, as well as address the kind of costs families face, as I said, from healthcare to education, etc. But I also think that it's important that, over the course of my career, I have also seen a kind of a growth in the Indian American community about engaging in public service, or more people running for office than ever before. But a central component is also holding our leaders accountable for ensuring that all of us have a voice in the administration and policies, and also that every administration sees us as equal Americans. I'm proud to work in an administration where that has been a core tenet, and I hope that we continue that as we go forward.